Hello, welcome to my channel. This is a channel dedicated to sociology and critical thinking. This is my first video, and I want to tell you right now that many more are coming because I have a lot of wonderful information to share with you. Obviously, I'm a real person, but I don't believe my voice is very pleasant, so I prefer to use a voiceover. Besides, the voiceover is very clear and of very good quality. Before getting into the main topic, which is defining what the word love really means, or knowing when such a word that we called love actually makes sense, I want to point out something very important. Believe me, the information that I'm going to share on this channel, it is extremely relevant, especially for parents who have children, and primarily for those who do not have children, but will have them in the future, and who really wants to learn how to raise them in a smarter and more conscious way. If you decide to stay on this channel, you're going to learn things that aren't taught in school, and that can make a real difference in a person's life. I'm going to say things that some people might find uncomfortable. I don't know how you'll react, because no one can read another person's mind, but it is possible to predict based on knowledge. But there's something we must understand, that the brain doesn't know what is more or less relevant, only what it experiences. That's why, when you hear new ways of thinking, it's normal to feel resistance. The only thing I ask is, if you get uncomfortable with me, you give me the opportunity to explain little by little. It so happens that we live in a society overflowing with information that's superfluous to people's real needs. Our society is extremely efficient at generating vast amounts of content, and only a small fraction is truly useful, while the rest is a pile of useless garbage. So, when you talk to people, you really think you're talking to people, but not. They're not really listening to you because everything you say is interpreted according to their background, the way the other person thinks. In other words, when we talk to people, we talk to one another, but never truly to each other. I want to point out something very clearly. Even though many won't like to hear it, the vast majority of parents don't know how to raise children. They don't have the tools. So, without realizing it, they damage kids' brains from a very early age. Believe me, I'm not saying this to hurt anyone, but to raise awareness. If you stay until the end and continue watching the channel's content, you'll understand why I say this. We live in a society mostly filled with insane reactions, which are a direct product of the aberrant conditions of our society. For example, ego is one of the conditions that does a lot of damage to our society because it prevents people from questioning, reflecting, and learning. And here, I want to point out something fundamental. We live in a society without critical thinking, completely lacking critical thinking. People live without realizing it in a complete contradiction. We can't see anything objectively, and it's not the people's fault, but the fault of the education system, which doesn't teach people to think, but memorize information, because the education system doesn't teach critical thinking. Only obedience. Unfortunately, there's a small group of people, the control group, because they control the creation of the main source that gives people access to people's daily needs. We live in a very corrupt system. Basically, it makes money. The most effective tool ever created by man to manipulate people's behavior. They use it in countless ways against our interests. Only serve their interests. Unfortunately for us, such elite group know that they don't need to make a big effort to control ignorant or dummy people. They control themselves, promote all kinds of silly stuff, because they don't want a society with critical thinking, because people with critical thinking goes against their interests. They know it's impossible to control people with critical thinking. That's why this information I'm about to share is priceless. invaluable. I want you to understand something important. The brain needs time to process the information. This isn't content to consume quickly. It's content to reflect on, question, and listen to again. If you watch videos from specialists, people who care about people's well-being, and you can verify this for yourselves by watching their videos, you'll notice that the vast majority focus almost exclusively on physical health, like what to eat, how to exercise, how to take care of your body, first aid. And in the case of psychologists and psychiatrists, they adjust people into today's society. Believe me, you have to be very insane to do that. They do it. Mental health isn't really discussed. Not because they're bad people, because they are driven by routine. Their brains are as rigid as a road. They are riding that path. They're already hurt. They can't see anything objectively. From my perspective, with the knowledge I have, I want to make something very clear. Mental health is the most important thing because if you have a healthy mind, you have the most important thing. Everything else comes as a bonus. Okay, now let's get to the main topic. The important things to understand is such a word we call love. Let's say, for example, that your wife falls in love with another man, younger, or with more money, or for any other reason, and wants to leave. It basically means you're not meeting her needs. That doesn't make her a bad person. If you truly love her, you let her go. You even help her pack her things. If you truly love her, because that's what she wants. But in this society, most people say, you're not going anywhere. You're my wife. I'm not going to let you leave the house. I'll break your head first. Is that love? No, of course not. So, does such a thing really exist? Now, what happens during separations? Parents fight over custody of the children. So they say, the children stay with me. So, again, where is the love? What happened to that emotion? Does such a thing really exist? No, it doesn't exist because this reaction they call love isn't something fixed. It fluctuates. A girl thinks she's deeply in love with her partner. She's sure she loves and adores her partner. Then you ask them, what happens if you discover that your husband or boyfriend is cheating on you with another woman? Will you still love him the same? Of course not. The relationship ends immediately. Oh, the boyfriend tells his girlfriend, my love, you're the love of my life. I love you more than my own life. And many girls today feel deeply flattered to hear this. But if they actually knew relevant information about the human brain, they would realize that, in reality, the guy isn't saying anything. It's just noise. So people don't know how to love today. They don't even know what the word love means. You can realize for yourself. Ask people you know or people on the street what they understand by love or what the word love means. Usually, they don't know what to answer. They say things like, love is the most powerful force in the universe, or there are many kinds of love. They generally don't know what to say. Now, if you ask the parents if they do love their child, they respond, what kind of question is that? Of course, my kids are everything to me. They are what I love most. Now, for me, when a parent says that they love their child, I think what they really mean is that they care about the child's well-being. But it turns out that most parents don't even know how to feed their children with healthy food, even teach their children how to brush their teeth more properly. I'm sure you've seen parents offer their children, for example, food or drink that literally have more poison than a venomous snake. You know, obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, tooth decay, fatty liver, etc. These same parents who claim to love their children expose them to all kinds of silly stuff that unfortunately hurts children's brains and completely ruins their curiosity. It's painful to see the enormous amount of stupidity that parents, without knowing, for ignorance basically, expose their children to. It's a topic I'll address in detail in a future video. Believe me, it's incredible the amount of nonsense we support, which damages the most valuable thing our children possess, their brains. So, what kind of love is that? As I said before, people today don't know how to love. Okay, now let's suppose you have a kid and you raise him with all kinds of domesticated animals, tigers, bears, lions, panthers, hyenas, all under domesticated conditions. Then you send your son to Africa to see animals in their natural habitat. I can assure you he won't last long with that way of thinking. Love isn't limited to romantic or affectionate feelings. It manifests as an act of mental expansion. People often say, "I love you," or "take care." In our society today, for most people, these phrases sound meaningful and affectionate, but it means nothing. They're just empty words, unless you provide the meaning. Then there will be no need to say them. That's why people still say such words today. So remember, the moment you hear the words, "I love you," or "take care," watch out, because in a society with truly critical thinking people, no one has to tell you, "I love you," or "take care," unless they are ignorant. To give you a clearer idea of the importance of the information I'm going to share with you, for example, a computer. If you have information stored on the computer that is no longer useful to you, or that you consider junk, you select it and press delete, and it's deleted from the computer. But you can't do that with the human brain. Once information enters the brain, it can't be deleted so easily. You can't simply select information that isn't useful and delete it. Do you understand? Once information enters, it stays. It's very likely that in the future, humans will be able to selectively erase information from their brains, but we're currently very far from achieving that. Now, I'm going to tell you what the word love really means. Love is what you do that extends another person's mind, that helps a better understanding of the world you live in. That's real love. It's the only way it makes sense. I use an example. Someone you met tells you how to recognize the early symptoms of a heart attack. If you feel pain or pressure in your chest, it may feel like squeezing or burning and last more than a few minutes. Pain that radiates to your left arm or both, neck, jaw, back, or stomach. Shortness of breath, even without exertion. Cold sweats, nausea, or vomiting. Dizziness, weakness, or extreme fatigue. In some people, especially women, the symptoms may be more atypical, such as intense tiredness or general malaise. You must do this step by step if you suspect a heart attack. Call emergency services immediately. 911. Don't wait for it to pass. Stop all activity and sit or lie down in a comfortable position. Stay calm and breathe slowly. Do not drive yourself to the hospital. Wait for the ambulance. It can save your life if it teaches you how to prevent having a heart attack in the future. That's much better. Oh, someone explains to you in detail how the monetary system really works. The person who extends your ability to deal more appropriately with the world you live in. That is real love. Anything that extends your mind. 2 quick examples so as not to make the video too long. Basically, you cannot be love if you are ignorant. So, remember, information doesn't come from outside of the space and enter in your head. The more relevant information you expose yourself to, the smarter you are. And the more stupid information you expose yourself to, the dummy you are. Because it's not the size of the brain, nor the quality of the tissues. It's the information that you get from the environment. The brain doesn't have a mechanism of discrimination. The brain doesn't know what is more or less relevant, only what it experiences. It's extremely difficult to accept that we don't make our own decisions, because it's very difficult to step outside of the environment. Just in case, in the future, in a more intelligent society, people's main concern will be the information that people get from the environment, because we will be civilized the day when we teach our children how nature works. The real world works. Everything we know that works and what we don't know yet, that we need to work on it. In my next videos, I will delve deeper into this topic. For now, it is to offer clear definitions of some key words that will be fundamental to having a clearer meaning for the content I will share in future videos. You cannot have a word without having a clear definition of what you mean by that. Human being, consciousness, creativity, sane, insane, human nature, human behavior. How to disagree without getting angry. Here we're going to talk about truly relevant things. I want to tell you in advance just some of the stupidities that people believe in our society today. I hope to make videos about each of them later, that we make our own decisions, that the emotions are in the heart, that we have natural survival instincts, that a mother's love is the biggest love, that a woman's brain looks different than a man's brain, the great stupidity of IQ, that robots are going to take control, that human nature and human behavior are the same thing, that hormones influence the way people think. Parents encourage children to be male or female, and the list goes on and on. People are so misinformed. In case any of you are already interested in receiving advice, based on my knowledge that already shared about the human brain, how to raise children more intelligently and consciously, I consider that understanding the human brain is extremely valuable for everyone. Parents, doctors, engineers, teachers, students, as it offers critical thinking of high relevance for personal and social development. To have the most sane way of thinking under the given circumstances, and generally for everyone, to learn how to deal better with the world you live in. I've prepared a video, half-hour video, where I talk about the human brain in detail and share practical tips and strategies based on my knowledge. You'll get a clearer notion of the brain. I'm sure you'll find it very helpful. Believe me, I highly recommend it because I consider the information extremely important, truly very relevant. Because when you misinform people, it hurts people, and eventually, yourself. Because if your notions of the world are unreal, you will suffer. Believe me, it's not people who hurt you. It's your expectations that hurt you, not people. In other words, it's your way of thinking that hurts you, not people. Ignorance is what really hurts you. I'm very confident that this information is truly useful. The educational video is available on the content creator platform Buy Me a Coffee. The corresponding link is available both in the description of this video and on my channel. If you are watching this video on a computer, you can scan this QR code, which will give you the link that takes you to the platform. Buy Me a Coffee is a popular, user-friendly platform built to support creators, writers, musicians, artists, educators, developers, and many more who are doing meaningful, creative work, often used by those with existing audiences on social media. That allows them to receive support from their audience through tips, donations, memberships, without needing to be registered on the platform. So, if you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee, and in exchange, you get access to the video. And for the same, you not only get access to this content, but also to all the videos I'll be publishing in the future on this topic. As I mentioned before, I'm convinced that this content will be very useful to you, because the smarter the kids are, the better your life. I highly recommend watching the video several times. Each viewing allows you to familiarize with the information and discover new details that go unnoticed. At first, that allows you to build a clearer picture of the human brain, its functioning. Also, I give you the names of some YouTube channels who I believe share ideal information for children and young people. Many real and simple ways, explained very clearly and in detail, how to earn a great income online from a very young age before they finish school. They don't have to wait until they're 65 or 70 old to retire. In general, it's very useful for people of all ages. They share a wide variety of ways to earn great income online via internet. It's nothing like those YouTubers who get hundreds of millions of views, and what they share is just a bunch of useless garbage. Also, in case you are interested in learning or expanding your Spanish vocabulary, here on YouTube, an alternative channel that I created so as not to interfere with the content of this channel, I will be uploading little by little practical English-Spanish vocabulary course that I did in my time off. You know, many people go to sleep listening to music. I believe it is better to go to sleep with the intention of learning something more useful. You can play it for children to listen to as well, especially now, as we live in a world that is more interconnected than ever before. I believe the brain finds it easier to retain information in its memory when it is heard more slowly. It also makes the listening more pleasant. A quick sample of it.
I, yo, mine, mío, our, nuestro, a lot, mucho, because, porque, but, pero, next, próximo, rough, duro, bought, compró, brought, trajo, lack, carecer.
I recommend listening the complete course from start to finish, as many words share the same meaning or a very similar one to other words in the list. One thing that English teachers often overlook is that nearly half of the vocabulary in English and Spanish is remarkably similar. Trust me. At first, just focus on listening. Nothing but listening. Focus on learning the pronunciation. The most important step in learning any language is acquiring vocabulary. Do not worry about seeing how the words are spelled. Instead, watch English videos to review what you have learned. Then you can look up the spelling later on. I've included the link in the description of this video. Subscribe to my channel for more educational content and to join me in upcoming videos. And don't forget to like the video if you found it helpful. Thank you.